part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Welcome back, everybody, to Podcast 616, the official podcast of Earth 616. I am your host, Damon Royster. I'm back from my X-Men break. Well-deserved, if I don't say so myself. And we're back for the spooky season. So we're kicking off the month of October by talking about everybody's favorite black vampire, yours and mine. We're talking about Blade, a.k.a. Wesley Snipes at his finest. I don't think he's ever been better than this. I don't think he will ever be better than this. This is peak Snipes. Peak Snipes. So we'll be talking about Blade all month long, but of course we got to start with Blade 1. That's how numbers work. So I assembled a crack team of Blade enthusiasts. Let's start with a new guest. Never been on the podcast before. He's been asked several times. Finally got him. It took so long. I truly think he might disappear during this podcast. I don't know, but we got him. We got him on the call. They are so cozy right now. Please welcome to your ears, writer, performer, and the star of Second City's main stage, Don't Quit Your Daydream. It happens every day in Chicago. Please welcome to your ears, Jordan Stafford.
I didn't come to slay. I came to win.
Don't you forget it. Blade came to slay, but Jordan
All
came
stars,
to win.
baby. All stars.
Jordan, how are you besides practicing for a drag race?
I am good. I am good. I am ready to be spooked. I am ready for blood-filled sprinkler systems. I am so excited.
Girl, we got all that and more for you. But we have a second guest in our second chair, a 3-time guest. Who would have thought? 3rd time. This man has talked about Winter Soldiers. He's talked about She-Hulk. And now I do believe you might be the biggest Blade fan I know. So please welcome to your ears. He's got his John Travolta curl going strong from Greece. Please welcome actor, comedian, UCB mod team member, or member of the UCB mod team Lasers. You're a friend of mine. Please welcome to your ears, Ben Cumings.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, Ben.
So excited to talk about Blade, the Daywalker.
Yes. Ben, to get us started, just right off the bat, explain to me your love of Blade.
I love Blade because it's like he's such a simple character. This guy got one speed. It's killing vampires. That's all he does. He like twiddles his thumbs all day long when it's light outside, waiting until he can go out at night and kill vampires. It's pure, it's clean, it's simple.
So simple. And then Jordan Stafford question for you. Like, do you have what are your initial Blade thoughts or feelings?
My thought with Blade was that Blade was the introduction to other Halloween costumes for a young black kid when everybody else is doing superhero stuff, you know? Because other options would have been Meteor Man for me at the time. But if you wanted to jump into the Marvel flicks type deal, Blade was right there. Because I don't think that, not even at that time did we have Nick Fury yet. You know what I'm saying? It was
no, because he was still a white Nick Fury at this point.
He was still white Nick Fury at that point, yeah. Which was, did they switch casting for that? Was it David Hasselhoff?
In the 80s it was, yeah.
Yeah.
What a time.
It was Hasselhoff, then it was Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah.
You tell me who wins. Yes, Blade. I remember Blade fondly. I do remember, I'm so sorry, but this is my podcast, and I'll be honest, I do remember liking Blade 2 better than Blade 1. But I love them both more than Blade 3. And
that's something everyone can agree on, for sure.
Okay. I mean, this movie is just, I mean, we'll start, I mean, the intro really just gives the whole tone, sets the tone for the whole movie. It's just such, I would say this is more like on the lines of like almost horror than it is action. Ben Cumings, does a genre of such as horror action, does that exist?
Yeah, this is a great example of it. The opening scene is all gas. There's no breaks. It's so crazy. It's the greatest opening scene ever. A man refers to his penis as a heat seeker in like the first minute of this movie, which is crazy. And then he gets protected by Blade. So it flips the script on you. You think that guy's gonna get killed righteously.
He truly is protected. It truly is throughout the whole thing. And then, yeah, I think it was just like the gripping It's just like the gripping of like once the blood sprinklers started to go, I was like, oh, this shit's about to hit the fan. And also just thinking about being a person getting invited to a function like that, you know. I was recently just thinking about going to raves more, and now
You gotta think twice before you go.
Jordan, what would you do if you went to a rave and then the sprinkler system just poured pure human blood on you? Would you?
I think I would have to. I think I would have to walk out. But like once I realized what the game was, I think that I was trying to start to blend in. But the only problem is, no, I saw some cornrows. Never mind. I would definitely have some support in the room. I was about to say that the room was pretty white, but so I was already sticking out. But no, I did indeed see some bloody cornrows. So there was some other POCs in the room. Also, there was so I feel like I'd be fine. I would just be hissing around. I would also pretend to hiss as well.
You'd be like, oh, I love this blood too.
I was like, oh my God, bam.
It kind of makes me feel bad because those vampires are having such a good time. They're like dancing to that crazy techno song. I think it's like if blood is your main thing, you've never been to a club this amazing with blood coming out of the ceiling and then Blade comes and like ruins your life. It's kind of sad.
Kind of sad for the bloodsuckers, and especially like what was the plan? Were they all going to feast on that one man? Like, were there any other humans there?
I like that they just started beating his ass because you think of them as like they should like bite him, but instead they're like punching him and kicking him. I guess that was the plan, tenderize him.
I guess, but I was just like, you could have also just like got the job done, passed him around real quick, like you know, like a drug, just like out. Pass it, you know, just like everybody's like taking a turn, but they really did just choose to. It was biding Blade some time. They wanted Blade to make it in as well.
They could have easily done a chomp pass. But what do I want to say? Also, I wanted to go back to what you were saying, Jordan, about the cornrows. This is 1998, so I don't think we can look at cornrows and just
that's true.
Color.
Oh, and also there was blood covering him, so he could have been any. And that's you know what? So maybe the room was indeed. I probably would have stuck out. I was really looking for hope. Blade was the representation I needed in the room. That's what.
I was just thinking, like, if you updated this and did the same scene, I was gonna say, oh, I'll just call an Uber, but like the blood would get all over your phone, and you're like, oh, I can't see.
And then I gotta deal with the Uber driver. But also, if I get into the car and I'm covered in blood, then I gotta deal with the Uber driver being pissed off about it. Like,
you gotta pay the cleaning fee.
I just clean my car.
Cleaning fee, exactly.
I've had people throw up in my car, but never covered in blood. Like, it's just like that kind of thing where I feel like that would be so. Even if it was updated, I don't think that I'm winning either way.
Yes. Well, we're harping on this intro a lot because it's a fantastic intro.
Yeah, it goes so crazy.
It was so crazy. Like, what a great way just to kind of like make it clear. Because at the beginning, you're not like, I think this is about vampires, but I'm not sure. Also, we really glossed over the very, very first image, which is my queen, Sanaa Lathan, on the gurney with the neck bite. I forgot that was Sanaa Lathan, who I love. Do we all know who Sanaa Lathan is on this call?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I didn't realize Love and Basketball. I watched that movie so many times. But I watched that movie so many times, and I think that in my closeted days, I really, really, really tried to convince myself that was it for me. You know what I'm saying? Sanaa was the one. It was between her and Rihanna. I really was pushing those. Those were my two pushes.
You gave it a good try. Yeah, those are good choices.
Whenever somebody said, "What's your crush? Who's your crush?" and stuff, I'd say that so fast. Couldn't really back up any other details, but I was just like, yes.
Yeah. When did you realize you were actually into Omar Epps from Love and Basketball?
I think around the same time. Omar Epps was in there. Yeah. But okay. I think around the same time.
My celebrity crush, Sanaa Lathan. I loved it when she was bit in the neck, giving birth and screaming. So fine.
Yeah. Okay. We're still worried about Ben, everybody. So, you know, we're in the club, the blood pours down, this douchebag man apparently is our entryway point, and then in walks Blade. Ben Cumings, give me, if let's say people are listening to this podcast, they've never actually seen Blade or even like the movie or the character, describe Blade when we first see him. What is he giving you?
It's so good because the pathetic man that we hate is on the floor, crawling along on his hands and knees, trying to get out of the vampire rave, and he comes across a huge boot. And then we pan
Biggest
up
boot you've ever
on
seen.
it's like a gigantic black. It's like the crisp. It's also new. There's like no scuff marks. You know how like superhero
Yeah.
movies now everything is like weathered to look like they've
Mhm.
been being a superhero for a while. Not here.
Not
This
then.
guy is pristine and he's dressed like the Matrix, but with like way more body armor. And he's got the cleanest haircut of all time with a matching tattoo, which is amazing on his head. And then
I
those
forgot about the
wraparound
tattoo.
Oakleys from 1999. So good. Oh man. And then
Wait, the Oakley, is that the sunglasses?
yeah, I don't know
Oh.
what the actual brand is, but I love those 90s wraparounds where it like
Mhm.
touches your skin at all points. It's like goggles
Yeah,
almost.
perfect. Very goggle-like. And what were we going to say after that?
And then it's great screenwriting. He tells you his deal right away. The rest of the movie, he just says one-liners and cuts vampires' heads off. And it's a great entry point into saying, this is not a superhero movie. This is not a horror movie. Oh, everyone's scared. Look around the corner. This is a movie about a guy cutting vampires' heads off for 2 hours. And that's why it succeeds.
Truly. And they don't fail on that delivery of the promise. I like the action here. I like how the vampire, listeners, maybe you've heard me say this. I love Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I really love Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I'm saddened to see a lot of things in Blade that ended up on Buffy, which leads me to believe Joss Whedon stole a lot from Blade. There's a lot of shit in this movie that I'm like, wait a minute, Buffy did that later. He stole it. But I say all that to say I like how the vampires explode when you stab them with silver and you can chop their heads off. I just like the cleanliness, because Buffy does that too. When the vampire dies, they turn to dust. And I just like the cleanliness of that. I don't need bodies everywhere. That's for zombies.
Yeah, it also made for it better. Like because the thing that I thought about was when we're in the last scene of that and the dude is on the ground. Blade has just pinned that dude up against the wall. The dude is on fire and shit. And I think about when the police are coming in and the dude's just sitting there because Blade's gone already. And I was just thinking about it. And I don't want to stay on this thing too much, but had the bodies been there was no assumption that this man did anything. You know what I'm saying? I thought that my immediate thought would have been like, why is he sitting here covered in blood and this dude's on fire and it's just them?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but then you would later find out that the police in this movie are also very like
Corrupt.
they're in the pocket of big vampire.
It's yeah.
Big vamp.
Yeah, Blade should have had like a body camera and like dropped off the footage. Be like, no, there was a ton of people here. I killed 35 people here.
I was right here.
Mhm.
They all turned to little dust and flew away.
So what's crazy about this movie is that's the intro scene, but the night's not done. He continues to slay. We meet a lovely young woman, a hematologist. Is that the correct term? She deals with blood. Dr. Karen, medicine woman. I can't believe they named a black woman Karen. That still sits with me.
It was early.
Yeah, this is a whole different era.
Whole different era. Karen was still welcome. You know what I'm saying? Like I had a teacher in school, an older black woman. Her name was Karen Hickman. I think that Karen was popping.
Okay. Was it popping in I guess the 70s or 60s, whenever she?
Yeah, it was. Mm-hmm. Karen was popping. I think Barbie had a friend named Karen.
I bet she did. I just can't believe this whole movie. We're just like, God, I hope he saves Karen. But Jordan, did you do you have anything to say about Dr. Karen?
She was going through a breakup. She said, I don't want to talk about that right now. I want to just work on these bodies. I want to get and he was just, yeah. I was happy for her. I was happy to see her in the room in that position.
Who would have thought a Me Too situation was happening in the blood bank of a hospital? Like that's
it touches every aspect of life.
Mm-hmm. Systemic. Ben Cummings said systemic.
And that's also what Blade is fighting against in this movie.
Also, not enough movies
sexually harass people with no head.
Going back to the tippity top, a lot of movies don't do that thing anymore where they just like pin up on somebody's name tag just to make sure that you fully have who she is. That was like her first. Yeah. That was probably one of the earlier little touches. sometimes you just have to listen very closely and you'll get a person's name. But Karen, we knew it.
Not in this movie. Need to know her name is Karen. Wait, I'm just trying to get back to
a movie with really 4 characters and then like 200 expendable vampires. It's like we need to let them know it's Karen is the only name they're going to need to know other than Blade this whole movie.
Right.
Oh, and Frost, because there's all those scenes where you just Frost.
Oh, we're gonna get to Frost. I have a lot to say about Frost. In my notes, it just says Frost appreciation. But we have to. So Karen gets the big chomp, of course, and so Blade takes her to his lair, and then she gets bit by a charred vampire. Oh, Jordan Stafford has his finger up. Yes, Jordan.
Before he takes her to the lair, though, the way that this woman is injured and he still chucks her across to that different building on a tarp that I'm sure he didn't know what the tautness of, he didn't know what the bounce of it would be. He tosses her over there. A normal ass woman. She did get bit, but she had no signs of any. Tosses her ass across this building. And then
like a bag.
Truly, just like a bag. And then only her shoulder. I'm sorry. Only her shoulder was dislocated. I'm sorry. It tore me up. That just tore me up a little bit. I wanted to talk about that as soon as that came.
Well, we haven't even said it, we haven't officially said it. Blade is half vampire. You know, he's a daywalker. We saw him born in the first scene, but I'm just saying he must know the right way to toss a woman across a building so she'll land okay.
No, I think Jordan's right. I think they should have done it really realistically, and she should have been really hurt, and Blade should have been like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry."
And then we could have had a whole fix you scene. You know what I'm saying? Like when they go back to the lair, it's like this whole like operation kind of fix thing, or
is that to Coldplay's Fix You?
Yeah, it could have been really chill, like little. But honestly, that part just took me out. And then also the fact that they just kept shooting. There was a whole scene where like Blade was gone, she was gone, but that one officer with the fucking machine gun just kept shooting at that one door, and we get like the door gets its moment of just being shot up, bullet holes. I was like,
it feels like a crew member was like, oh, I got this great effect we can do with the door, and they're like, well, we don't need to be shooting. No, it's gonna look awesome. Just check it out.
Don't cut it. Don't cut it.
Yeah, it's the producer's son or whatever.
Don't cut this at all. All right, the next character we have to talk about. Unfortunately for me, not to show my cards too early, but Whistler. Does anybody have anything to say? I have nothing to say about Whistler. Does anybody want to advocate for Whistler?
I'm on the same page as you, except that I love that Whistler exists. The fact that Chris Christopherson is in this movie for no reason, just being like, oh, Blade, we got to stop the fucking vampire apocalypse, which is a real line that he says. Like, it's a good idea, but we do have way too much Whistler going on in this film.
Way too much. It reads to me. Now I'll talk about this. This is a Blade movie. It reads to me as like, well, we got to get white men to see this movie for some reason. So let's get
Chris Christopherson.
Chris Christopherson. Because I'm just like, at some point, it's like, why is this old, fragile man with a knee brace working with Blade, who is almost invulnerable?
I know. It's like so hero's journey. Like he's got to have an old mentor like Obi-Wan. And it's like, well, does he really need that? Because he's like an elemental force of vampire killing. So he can just kind of, that we don't need to explain. Show his like family ties. Yeah.
And I guess the idea is that he needs somebody to keep him from the brink of feeding on humans. So because he's got that thirst, he's got that hunger. So he has like the serum, right? He puts the serum in his body so he doesn't hurt humans.
Yeah. It's like how I have to watch TikToks at work.
Or else
you want to hurt humans.
Yeah, I can't be at work without looking at TikTok.
You need that serotonin calm down. So yeah, Whistler's here. He's bopping around. He helps explain the lore of vampires or whatever. Blah 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 blah. I want to talk about Frost. Stephen Dorff. I don't know what was up. I felt all kinds of way about this Frost character. That 90s look he's doing, I love it.
I love is when his shirt is all unbuttoned and he just got like a regular, like good looking human's body. It's not like he just looks like a in shape guy instead of like a freak steroid like monster.
Oh, yes. That's how we did it in the 90s. That's like that like ice blue button down shirt that's not all the way buttoned, just blowing in the wind. Like that's some Tyrese shit. I love it.
I love him in
but
this
for a
movie.
white man.
He's always given attitude to the Multicultural Council of Vampires, which I love. I love it when they show like Asian vampires there and they're like, we gotta give him a Fu Manchu. We gotta go the full 9 yards for this extra. And he's being disrespectful to all the international vampires. It's so good.
Yes, because you have to do the full Manchu because how else would people know?
Yeah.
Yes. So, Frost, his whole deal is he wants to he was a turned vampire, and apparently in this world there's pureblood vampires versus, turned vampires.
Because you always have some form of difference in
finish it. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I didn't want to get into the Harry Potter stuff as well.
but you feel it. You feel it, right?
I felt it.
Voldemort.
So I'm just they always have to do it, but it's always led with, it kind of has like the person that's doing it is like a white person, so it's kind of like, it's like, what we tiptoeing around, I'm like, okay, still don't get it.
If Hitler was a vampire.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. This is what's hard about Blade. I feel like the movie, that's pretty much the whole movie. It's like he's against Frost. Frost has this big plan to use a satellite to awaken a vampire god.
Yeah, he's gonna get the blood god.
The blood god, yes, of course. La Magra. Oh my god, sounds like a great drink. I don't know. I just wish that Blade was more on top of that because his whole thing is just, I'm going to kill vampires. And then he kind of just stumbles onto, and they're doing a plan. Oh, wow. Got to stop that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think I read that originally at the end, he was supposed to fight a CGI vortex of living blood, which I'm very glad they didn't do because it's way better to see Stephen Dorff flip around and then get shot a bunch. But
yes,
my big note for this movie, if I could go back in time to 1998, I wouldn't warn anybody about anything else. I would just go to the set of Blade and say, stop fucking around. Just make Stephen Dorff be Dracula. That should have been the movie. He should have been the king of all vampires.
I do think in Blade 3, the Dracula, they do get to it, but I don't know if it was good.
Yeah, and we would be in flying cars by now if they had just gotten to Dracula in the first movie.
If Blade would have just dealt with the Dracula first off, we'd have been there. Okay. Another aspect of the Blade universe that's crazy is the familiars. That there are humans that work with the vampires and they have little tattoos on the back of their necks. How did we feel about this? Do we think we need this?
I always think that's so lame. I mean, as far as whether it's necessary to the story, I'll leave that up to more cultured minds than mine. But I always am like, God, in a world where vampires exist, yeah, it would be cool to be like a vampire, be immortal, and have all these powers and stuff. But you got to be somebody's personal assistant for 20 years first. It sucks so bad. That's so embarrassing.
But you're safe.
What? The job security's good.
The job security, I mean, if you're working for the vampires already, right? I feel like they're just safe. I feel like you're safe from other vampires if you got this other one right now.
That's so true because it's you have to surround yourself with good people.
You have to.
Jordan, are you already working with the vampires right now? You said that really quickly.
I think that I probably would. If it was a case of multiple vampires, lots of stuff going on. I don't know that I would work with them, but I would try to, because also you got to think about the aspects of there probably will be a rise of people against the vampires. I don't want to be on the wrong side of it, but I would be a little double agent in the sense of not even giving the vampires anything. I would just do my little duties over here just to protect my neck. But then I would go over here yeah. I'd probably be one of the first people to die for sure because the vampires would surely find out that I was going back and forth because I'm not good at hiding that stuff for sure. But I think that being a familiar, you just want to be protected. I think that they just want to be safe in the uprise because you think that these superpowered blood-sucking people, they can take on anybody, especially living forever. Which I mean, in the beginning, Blade kind of debunks something where it's I thought the stake had to go straight to the heart, but he popped some of them He popped some of them in the neck.
In the head.
He was stabbing them just about everywhere, and they were disintegrating. So I was like, "Oh, the vampire game is different. You don't have to get sick."
Yeah, it's I hadn't thought about that. It's true. There's a lot of clearly there's a lot of like internal politics going on with the familiars, and they're jockeying for influence, and it seems like a tough job. And then the worst thing that can happen to your workday, Blade comes in with a bunch of silver spikes, and it's just I have a lot of sympathy for them.
It's like, fuck, Blade killed my boss today.
I'm just saying, did the spikes have to be silver? Because I thought that was just a werewolf thing too. But that's his like aesthetic.
She gets the vampire mace that's made from silver and garlic. So silver does something to him.
Silver. It's something with the naturalness of silver or whatever. But yes, that would be difficult to deal with if you were a familiar. It's pretty hard to be a familiar. And also, you know what's really familiar? Taking a break. We're going to take a familiar break from this podcast, and we'll be right back to talk about the second half of Blade. Oh man. And we're going to talk about how Dr. Karen, I think, truly saves the day. She does most of the work, but none of the fighting. We'll talk about it when we come back. Keep it right here. We'll still be talking about Blade when podcast 616 comes back.
Hello, Brooks here with the Books with Brooks monthly book club podcast. Here's how Books with Brooks works. We read one book a month, and then we talk about it. Classics like Stephen King's The Shining, debut novels like We Are the Brennans by Tracy Lang, and tons of other compelling, life-changing stories, one book and 1 month at a time. So come read along with us, and then listen in.
Welcome, everyone, to Podcast 616, the official podcast of Earth 616. I am your host, Damon Royster, and I am inviting you to listen and subscribe to this Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast. On Podcast 616, we gather some of today's greatest comedians, writers, and actors to dive deep into all things Marvel, like comic book history and lore, all the interconnected superhero storylines, and of course, who's hot and who's not in the MCU. Honestly, why aren't you listening right now? You have the power to listen to Podcast 616. And as we always say, with great power comes even greater responsibility. Listen and subscribe to Podcast 616 wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey everyone, this is Don Mike Mendoza, the host of Producing While Asian. Join us in Season 2 for more conversations with actors, artists, producers, and more from Broadway, Hollywood, and beyond, every other Wednesday on the Press Play Podcast Network.
And we're back. We're back from the podcast. Ben Cumings, you were talking a little bit about the culture of these vampires.
Yes.
Who are you talking about? Someone specifically?
I was so amped up about Blade that I couldn't stop talking about it during the break. I was talking about how I love that Stephen Dorff like represents like New World vampires, and he like in opposition to these old world like Transylvanian vampires. And I love Udo Kier as the like old French king of the International Vampire Council, because he gets the whole movie just go, Frost, what are you doing? You can't do this. You cannot summon the god. And then he gets exploded by the sun, which rocks.
Oh, that was so good.
That scene, by the way, unironic, amazing effects as he's like getting burnt up and then eventually exploded by the rays of the sun.
Yes, it was an amazing scene. But I want to ask you both. So I love vampire stuff, and I do buck against this thing. I saw it here, and I think it happened From Dusk Till Dawn as well. I want both of your thoughts on vampires using sunblock as a way to compete against the sun. I feel like that shouldn't work.
I feel like it's one of those, like, in theory, you probably would. I just don't think the sunblock is strong enough to protect them specifically from the sun. I feel like it's a very, like, I don't know. I'm like, I was more down for like the ones that always had fucking umbrellas in the, do you remember when there was like it was like a period of time where vampires were just walking around with like umbrellas. They made it very clear they were like different because they were always wearing like straight up like Victorian all black, like it's like all black. They weren't trying to update. They just had like their little, what's it, a parasol? Is that what it's called?
I think absolutely a parasol.
I think it also had to just be a straight up umbrella too, because parasols did not protect anybody from the sun. They were just lace, right? Wasn't it as lacy?
Yeah, parasol's a little bit more lacy, but like at night you could use a parasol.
That's true.
I guess for reflecting.
If that's your aesthetic.
But at that point, you're not even. Why do you have it? Why do you have? That's your time.
I do.
It's the aesthetic.
I get a little wary when it's like so scientific about vampires. You know what I mean? When it's like, I like that Dr. Karen is smart and she's helping, but I like it when it's more like, have you ever seen Bram Stoker's Dracula? Because
not all the way.
They have like a flashback to like 1100 when he becomes a vampire, and it's because he like renounced God and stabbed a statue of the Virgin Mary. And so I'm like, okay, so it's like it's a punishment from God, and like that's why you can't go out in the sunlight, not because like actually if they get 60% more UV rays, their cells will degrade. It's like, no, it should be a punishment from beyond.
Yeah, that's where it's so interesting. I'll talk more about this next week when we talk about Blade 2. But these Blade movies really kind of play fast and loose with like what's magic and what's science. And I would say this one is very much on the magic side, but I feel like Blade 2 definitely gets into more science and like vampires doing experiments and shit. Before we started recording, Ben Cumings dropped the bomb of all bombs on me. So in the scene I'm thinking of where Stephen Dorff is wearing sunblock, he's holding a little girl in his hands. Ben, you have to say it. Who is this actress and who plays this little girl?
It's none other, and she's giving a great performance. None other than the one and only Brenda Song.
Brenda motherfucking Song. You're telling me London Tipton is in Blade?
Yeah, and you can see in Wesley Snipes' eyes, he's like, wow, I would kill this vampire right here and now, but this kid is so talented, I can't risk any harm coming to her. She might be in some really great projects in like 10 years.
She needs to light a scarf on fire in Andrew Garfield's apartment in The Social Network. Brenda motherfucking Song. Wow. You unleashed a beast on me, Ben. I love Brenda Song.
Yeah, and she's eating in this movie. She did great in that scene.
That's good.
My God, he just lifts her by the chin and then tosses her in the street.
I know Blade did such a bad job protecting her. That's not what he's here for. He's not a regular superhero.
His only thing that he knows to do to save is to toss. Those are his.
Yeah,
tossing is his.
He's just like, that's good form. Nice job tossing her.
He's like, I'm gonna throw her. He's like, I threw Karen. She was fine. I can throw this kid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I threw Karen at 60 miles an hour across like a 50-foot gap.
Because she would not. In truth, I think that it would. The most realistic thing. I'm sorry that I'm going backwards, but it's the most realistic thing that probably would have happened was Karen didn't make the building. Blade jumps over there looking for her, realizes that she didn't make the building.
Yeah.
And then he's just like, oh shit. He looks down, she's down there. That's that, and just fully just like fucking
yeah, there's 3.5 minutes of him coming down the fire escape going, oh my God, no.
My God.
No.
And then the police aren't even shooting. Because they're just like, whoa. Whoa, Blade, chill.
Well, this leads to a good place because I think Blade is actually bad at protecting people. Because he only saved Karen so he could use her as bait to follow her, and then he's busy saving Brenda Song, the future of cinema. But then simultaneously, Whistler gets attacked and bit. Now, Ben, you've seen Blade 2, yes?
Yes, I haven't seen it in many years, but I've seen it.
How do you want to deal with this conversation of Whistler? Do you want to treat this as like Whistler's dead and he's never coming back ever again?
We're talking about Blade 1, and the last we hear of Whistler in this movie is Blade walks away as you hear the gunshot of him killing himself. Super dark final ending for Whistler.
And we're led to believe for 4 years that's the end.
And that's the magic of movies, baby. Bring him back for the next one.
I know. But yeah, Whistler gets chomped. Stephen Dorff, what's his name? I keep want to say Nick Frost, but that's not it.
It's Deacon Frost.
Deacon Frost. Not Simon Pegg's friend, Nick Frost. But Deacon Frost, again, beats the shit out of Whistler, just kind of kicks him while he's down. And he's like, I'm not going to bite you. And then he spits on him leaves. And then the other vampire, who is this actor who keeps getting his hands chopped off? He's on some
Donald
10-hour
Logue
sitcom.
It's
What was that
Donald
TV show where he
Logue.
played the dad? What was that? I forget. I thought about that same thing. It was like the Grounded for Life.
Yes, the dad from Grounded for Life.
Yeah.
And Ben, what's his name?
His name is Donald Logue, and Grounded for Life is kind of how Blade treats him this whole movie. He's just like, every time he sees him, it's like, all right, let me humiliate you, make you look like total shit in front of your vampire friends.
I'm a fan. I'm into that. So we lose Whistler, quote unquote, and then they took Karen. Karen got kidnapped. You guys, Dr. Karen,
Yes.
she got snatched.
Dr. Karen.
Just when she was going to discover the cure. She must be so good at her blood science because she like figures that shit out like immediately.
Seriously, let's list what she's done. So she created a cure for vampirism. So if you get bit, that's not the end of the world. Dr.
This
Karen
is
got you
a
covered.
hundreds of years long problem on Earth in this world.
Mhm.
And she like solves it in like 20 minutes.
Yeah, in like 3 days, because she only has 3 days until she turns into a vampire, and she's like,
Right.
got it. Done.
She's crushing it. The whole movie
You're
should just been about
welcome, world.
her.
Seriously, again, I don't want to show my hands, but I think you kind of know where I'm going at the end. Dr. Karen, kind of a hero, never to be seen in a Blade movie again. So she makes that, and then she also makes, what is this serum she makes where like it makes the vampires explode, like Big Trouble in Little China?
Yeah, I love it. I love because you can feel the decisions being made by the production team, being like, she should let's make her make something that makes them explode, just because they know
Mhm.
it's going to be awesome.
Yeah,
That's their guiding light.
when they explode, it's so animated. We're like, wow, and they just get really big and bulbous, and then they just pop. I
Yeah,
love it. So we head to the final fight, and Blade's got one more revelation. Sanaa Lathan, Mama Blade, she's still alive.
Yeah.
and I like this
And
movie.
she's a vamp?
She's a vamp, and they commit
vamp.
so hard to making him an antihero because, like we said, he's not really saving people. His business is not saving the populace; it's killing
No.
vampires, and he takes care of his own mother, which is
It's
incredible.
rough.
But also that vampire glow up. Like the hair.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
she had that little, I think it was like a little bump. Like a
Uh-huh.
little, I was like, oh
Oh my god! Don't get me wrong, she looked great.
yeah. No,
It looked great. Devastating for Blade. Okay, we take care of Mama, and then big blood god fight. Is it the Stephen Dorff gets possessed by the blood god La Maranga, the Macarena?
Yeah, El Milagro.
Mhm.
He's like possessed by it. It just he becomes a super vampire. That's all that you need to know. And I should have
Yes.
mentioned this, but last year around this time, I went to my lovely Los Feliz 3 American Cinematheque shout out, and they were doing a Sanaa Lathan retrospective, which also happened to be around Halloween. So of course, Blade is the perfect movie. And it was
Oh,
like a
yes.
midnight screening, and it was packed, and everyone was like turned up, and it was real electric energy. That opening sequence, people went nuts. And then you could kind of feel people like pulling back when Whistler was on screen. But then back at the final fight,
Yeah.
when Wesley Snipes delivers in a movie that, by the way, has nothing but great Wesley Snipes lines.
Mhm.
He gives the greatest line in all of cinema, which is, of course, some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate up hills, which is insane. That's his big line
Yeah.
before he kills the villain. What does that mean? Since when did we? Why is Blade talking about ice skating in his regular like idiomatic phrasing?
I don't know, man. I don't. Blade. I can't get a read on Blade's sense of humor because it really comes out of nowhere for me. But he's
Yeah.
always cracking jokes.
He's like really mean and serious to everybody, and then but he'll cut loose a little bit with a villain.
And then he kills them. So he's like a little
Yeah.
vulnerable, and then he'll kill you.
That honestly, I can relate to that. It's like the fear of putting yourself out there and trying to be funny.
Mhm.
You just after you do it, you just want to remain
Slice 'em in half.
unperceived. So you got to slice him in half.
Yeah. I always wonder why you carry that sword. But I get you. So he saves the day. Also, again, just want to point out, because I think Joss Whedon stole a lot from this. Dr. Karen, Blade feeds off Dr. Karen, which is something that happened in Buffy. And also this ritual of the 12 vampires for a sacrifice. He literally did that as well in the season finale of Angel. So just, putting it out there, guys. Keep your eye on Blade.
Very friends, friends living single situation. You know what I'm saying? It's very that.
It's like, wow, it is really that.
I'm shouting that and pointing at my screen. This is a friends living single situation.
Very, very
friends living single. But hey, at the end of the day, Dr. Karen lives. She cured her vampirism, and Blade is off to Moscow.
And he looks awesome in the snow. That's the special sauce that is what worries me about any reboot of Blade, is because they understood in this film it's really important to have him looking like he just got his leather trench coat pressed and steamed or whatever, and he's like just big pose in some snow or wherever he is. It's like so critical. If you don't have that, you don't have Blade.
You heard it here first, folks. If you don't have that, you don't have Blade. And if you don't have a fuck, marry, kill, you don't have a podcast 616. It's time. Once again, we are doing a classic fuck, marry, kill. Ooh, it's been so long since I've done this. Can I still do it? I'm sure I can. Today on the docket, we have the titular Blade, Whistler, and our girl, Dr. Karen. One of these three will be fucked, married, and killed. I will go first, give my guys time to think. I am going to who to do first? I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna fuck Blade. Have you seen that man? Have you seen that man? Incredible.
I feel like
do you gotta fuck the Daywalker?
I just feel like we're about to have it's about to be the same.
I think everyone's gonna say the same thing. Yeah,
I think we'll see.
We'll see how Whistler fares and all of this.
All right. So we're gonna fuck Blade because also Blade not emotionally available. He just killed his mom. I can't be in a relationship with that person, but for just one night, una noche, I can do that. My kill will be Whistler. And I'm not even going to kill Whistler. I'm just going to let him die how he died in this movie. And I won't rewrite anything else in future films. I'll just say that. I would have just let him get bit and then off himself. Whistler, he's a drag. And he doesn't encourage Blade. He is an enabler for Blade's reclusiveness. And I don't think that's good for Blade.
Yeah, he should be pushing Blade to go to mixers. He shouldn't be just making tools for him.
Go to a singles mixer, Blade, please. And I'm gonna marry Dr. Karen.
Yeah.
None of this would have happened without Dr. Karen.
She's gonna get a Nobel Prize in like 2 years.
Seriously? Well, first we have to prove vampires are real. Then she'll get the Nobel Prize.
That's why it takes 2 years.
Exactly. Let's go to Ben Cumings. Show Jordan how it's done. Ben, who are your fuck, marry, kill picks?
I want to preface this by saying I did not have the exact same picks for the exact same reasons. So because I don't have the same picks, my picks are I'm going to fuck Dr. Karen because you know what? She's too professional and too good for me. And I don't want to drag her down with a marriage where I'm not pulling my end of the weight. She's a serious professional and I'm still finding myself, and it wouldn't be fair for me to saddle her with that. But That's growth. Respect her beauty, and I want to be with her for just one night. Blade, I kill because he is straddling the line between two worlds. He doesn't know where he is. I want him to be reunited with his mother so he can be happy in the afterlife.
Ooh.
And again, these are my picks. This is not at all because I picked the exact same thing and now I'm trying to pick other reasons. And I'm marrying Whistler because, hey, listen, it takes a lot of money to buy all that silver, and he's on his way out soon anyways.
True.
So
he's a man rich in silver.
This is a financial decision. He's going to leave everything to me. I'm going to sell the silver bars. His garlic farm or whatever.
Hey, it's your choice. Maybe I should stop going first to give people hey, you could pick whatever you want.
Well, no. I had already, while we were talking about the other stuff, I was there thinking about it, and I did the math on my own. I
Okay,
definitely.
Jordan Stafford, please.
I was always going to kill Whistler. There was never a choice in the matter. I think once we got introduced to the old guy, I was like, he'd be fun to like. He could always be like, for the time before I kill him, we're having like story time. We're talking, chatting it up, but
Yeah,
definitely gonna go. And then I always felt like with Blade, it was always gonna be a fucking, you know what I'm saying? It's gonna be a good time, We're gonna do that. We're gonna have a ball, you know what I'm saying? Look at him. This is Wesley Snipes at his prime, you know what I'm saying? Let's go. High top fade, you know what I'm saying? I mean,
if not
honestly,
now,
the
then
Matrix,
when?
the level of leather, you know what I'm saying? It's just like he already had that prepared and he can move in it. Let's go. And then Karen, marriage, automatically. You want a partner that's gonna push you to like be your better best. You know what I'm saying? I want to be my better best with her. And also you want to have somebody who's strong. The way that she was tossed across the building and the only thing that hurt her. The only thing that she came off with was a dislocated shoulder. I'm like, let's go. You know what I'm saying? You want that. The only thing
so true.
And she even took getting her shoulder popped in place like a champ. And he didn't even warn her. He just was like, and he was like, oh. And she was like, I got it. And she was able to run down the stairs. She let's be real, it wasn't any assistance. And then out of nowhere, she was just being carried by him. So we'll receive that. But I think that she made the choice to be carried.
Yeah, honestly, if she had gotten seriously injured during that throw, that would have given me the ick. I would have been like, "Oh wow, you couldn't get thrown across a couple."
I would have been out. Been out. She probably would have been. That would have been the difference between her. My choice between her and Blade. That would have been the difference. But when you was talking earlier, I was just like thinking about it. I was like, yeah.
Damon, I gotta say, if you had thrown in Deacon Frost, this could have been a really I don't know what I would have done.
I know, but like, I try to keep the villains. I give the villains of these movies their own little thing, because I feel like with the villains of these Marvel movies, you either like you're going to marry them or you're going to kill them. I feel like there's rarely, or maybe like it's just so obvious which with the villains of these superhero movies what you're going to do.
So true.
But yeah, Deacon Frost, I would marry that man. I would fuck him every day. Can I say that, Michael? I just said that. I don't know if I could say that, but I did.
You would fuck him every day.
Every day. You could, and he probably maintained the same energy levels.
He's forever young.
As I age, he stays forever young. Sounds pretty good. Okay, that is Blade. What a film. I think it's a solid B+, A-. First half A-, second half B+. I think it's nowhere to go but up. But thank you both so much for being here. Ben Cumings, are you online? Are you doing things? Where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Ben Cumings with one M in Cumings. And then you can follow me on there and come see my little mod team or any other shows that I'm doing around town.
Check them out. Jordan Stafford, where can we find you?
You can catch me on Instagram as well at dude with the abolitionist part. I no longer have the part in my hair, but I won't let go of that handle because it's too dang long and too dang good. I tell you. It's, you could also catch me at Dude with the Library Card and also at Staffordian Works for my art. Dude with the Library Card, don't go on there. But honestly, it's just for accountability. Accountability purposes for me to read books. I'm trying to read more, and I've been posting what I read, and people constantly roast me for not posting for months so that I can keep reading. I want to be better about it. And then you could also catch me at the Second City Tuesdays through Sundays doing Don't Quit Your Daydream. The latest, the 111th.
Which is a great show. I saw it and I can vouch.
I can vouch. Jeff nominated, I believe. Jeff nominated production. Pretty big deal. Well, thank you both so much for being here. This is Podcast 616. You can follow us on Instagram at Podcast 616P3. That P3 stands for Press Play Podcast, or podcasting network that allows me to do Blade all October long. Thank you. Producer Michael, thank you for being here. If you want to hop on the mic real quick, what letter grade would you give this podcast that we just did?
This movie's a classic, and I'll give you guys an A+.
Yeah. It's so nice not to be talking about the Dark Phoenix. All right. That is the podcast. Jordan, Ben, Michael, thank you for being here. Blade, we'll see you next week for Blade 2. Guillermo del Toro will enter the chat. And until next time, please remember that with great power comes even greater responsibility.